Hello everyone, welcome to this video. So in this video we are going to try to implement a complete authentication flow using Supabase Auth and Next.js app router with server actions as well as a Supabase SSR package. So what is basically the agenda for today? So we are going to try to create an authentication flow for users to be able to sign up, log in, and also reset password if they have forgotten their password. Alright, so as you know, authentication is generally a crucial part in any web application to manage users. So knowing some of these, or knowing how some of these things work, is very useful. So I'm going to try to show you my basic flow. Obviously you can easily expand upon what we are going to create to suit your specific needs, and that's because we are not going to be able to cover entirely everything about user authentication, right? So let me actually show you what we are going to be creating here. So I'm going to be using this simple application. It's just a placeholder application I'm using to just show you the flow. So it's just a placeholder text I have here, right? And I have the heading here, my Auth app. Alright, so because we are not logged in at the moment, we see the buttons here to say login or sign up, right? And I am going to be using temp email to actually get a temporal email, and this way I don't have to use a real email to sign up. I would basically get all the emails I'm going to be receiving here. So it's actually a great way to test your application. All right, let's start by logging in. Obviously I don't have any users. If I show you, so this is my this is Supabase, and I've created a new Supabase app or a new Supabase project. You can go ahead and create yours. It's called Auth series app, and here, as you can see, there are no users here at all, right? Okay, so if I try to basically sign up, let's just use a random email here and let me enter anything. Obviously there's no user, so if I try to sign in, we see what we get. So it's basically going to say could not authenticate user because there is actually no user. I think I can start by doing a sign up instead. So I'll click on sign up, and this is basically going to take me to the sign up page. So here I'm going to copy this temporal email here. I'm going to paste it here, and I'm going to create a password. So I'm going to basically use test123 as my password. Let me confirm that, test123. So for example, if I enter like a wrong password confirmation and I try to click on sign up, it's basically going to say passwords do not match, right? So I need to confirm it, right? So it's going to be test123. And when I try to sign up by clicking on sign up, as you can see, there's no loading state or anything like that. So it's as if nothing is happening, but yeah, it's actually working behind the scenes. So as you can see, my sign up is basically successful. So it says that I can check my email to continue the sign-in process. So when you sign up, you are supposed to confirm your email to be able to start using it. Alright, so here, if I come here and yeah, when it refreshes, you would see that there is a user, but then the user is not verified, right? So we see waiting for verification. And when I go to my email here, if I scroll down here, you would see that I've received an email which is basically saying that I should confirm my sign up. So I'm just going to click on that email to open it, and here I'm going to click to open it in a new tab. So let's see what happens if I confirm the sign up with the link I received in my email. Because I'm running on localhost, it's a bit slow, but yeah, when you host it, it's gonna be much faster. So yeah, as you can see here, I am logged in, right? So I don't see the buttons anymore. I now see my email. So it say hey, and then your email displays here, and here you can basically log out. And if we go back to Supabase again, you'd see that the waiting for verification is now gone, and you see last signed in right this time. So this basically means that I am being verified and I am now logged in. So let me create this one so that I leave this one here. Basically let me just go back home here, and it means I can now log in with this particular email, right? So to be able to test that, because I am logged in now, to be able to test that, let me log out. So when I click on the logout, it's basically going to log me out, and it takes me to the login screen. All right, so let me copy the email again. So that is my email, log in, and I'm going to use test123. all right, so to test that, it is not going to work if I use a wrong password. I'm just going to delete one character, so it's now test12. So if I click on sign in, it's still going to say could not authenticate user, right, as you can see here. But then if I enter the correct password, then it's going to sign me in again. So as you can see, it works this time. I am logged in. All right, so that's how sign up and login works. So what if I've forgotten my password and I want to reset my password, right? So let me actually log out again, and here instead of signing in, I'm going to click on forgotten password, right? And here it says I should enter an email, right? So it's basically going to receive your email and then send a password reset link to your email so that you can use that link to reset your password, right? So I have to enter my email, so I'm going to paste the email I copied here again, and I'm going to click on confirm. So once I confirm, it says that password reset link has been sent to your email address. So let's actually go back here and check if we've actually received that as well. So I'm going to go back. Let me wait for this one to load it. Okay, so as you can see, I have another email which is saying reset your password. Alright, so I click on it, and here I see this link. So follow this link to reset your password. So I'm going to click on this link in a new tab. Alright, so here it now presents the password reset link. Right, and as you can see, this is basically like the session code, right? So the session to be able to verify that this user is actually authenticated on our platform. Right, so without this, you can't reset your password, right? So that's why you need to follow the link from the email. So here I'm going to enter a new password, right? So I'm going to, instead of test123, I'm going to say test111. I'm going to enter a confirmation here as well, test111, and here I'm going to click on reset, and there you go, my password has been reset, and as you can see, it has logged me in as well. Now let's log out again so that we actually log in with a new password to see if it works. So we are going to copy the email again, close the other one. So let me copy the email again. I'm gonna paste it one more time, and here I'm going to enter the first password, which is supposed to be wrong, right? So I'm going to say test123, and I'm going to click on sign in. So if the password reset link worked exactly, this is what we are supposed to receive. So could not authenticate user, and basically it's because the password is actually wrong. So let me now enter the new password I set, so test111, and when I click on sign in, let's see if that works, and there you go, that works. Right, so we are able to basically reset our password as well if by any means or any chance we've forgotten our password. So yeah, so this is basically what we are going to be creating. So I'm going to switch over to VS Code, and let's actually get started coding. Before we even start making any changes, let me show you how we created a project in the first place, right? So if you go to the Supabase documentation here under the Next.js quick start guide, here it shows you how you can quickly create a Next.js app with Supabase. Alright, so here as you can see, you can do npx create next app -e with Supabase. So go ahead and just copy this one into your terminal and then create a Next.js project with Supabase pre-configured all ready for you. And as you can see here, the project is also set up with Tailwind CSS and TypeScript as well, and it uses a cookie based. So this is exactly what we want. This cookie based Auth is using the Supabase SSR package as well, right? So yeah, instead of trying to like create the whole project and do the setup from scratch, which we can, actually the documentation is also there. We can easily and quickly spin up a new project using this command. And when you basically create a new project, you would notice that here you have an env.example file here, which is saying you should put your Supabase URL, project URL, and then your anon key there, right? When you create your Supabase project, you have to get a Supabase URL, that is a project URL, and then you also have to get the anon key, and you have to replace these with them. But first of all, you have to make sure you rename your env file to env.local so that it doesn't actually get pushed when you push to GitHub or anything like that. So I have a copy here where I have added my Supabase URL and the anon key. So obviously add yours. You would have just this file, so add yours and just rename it to something like this, right? So the documentation also mentions it. Alright, so here it says that yeah, you have the example env file, so rename it this one and then populate it with your keys, alright, as you can see here. So once you do that, you should be able to do npm run dev, and you should be able to see a screen like this. This is the default project you are going to be seeing, and I'm seeing this because I have added my anon key and my Supabase URL, right? But if you've not added your keys, you're going to see something else. But yeah, once you add it, you should be able to see these instructions here. Let me show you what we have with the default application we created. So most of the authentication setup is basically done for us. So when I say this, I mean that, for example, we have a middleware here, right? A middleware file which is going to basically update a session when a session expires. There is the Supabase client here, right? So this is for when you are using it on a client side, and there is also the server side which uses cookies. So I mean, here everything is done for us. Once we insert our Supabase URL and anon key, I mean, this is going to actually handle the session for us, right? We don't have to think about all of these things because it has already been done for us, and it is a good way to build your project faster, right? So if I go here, you'd see that there are some components here as well which we are going to basically remove everything, and here there is also this callback route, which is basically going to be doing the code exchange for us behind the scenes. So I'm going to quickly clean up the files, and I'm going to add the UI part, and when I come back, we are going to basically add the implementations, right? Yeah. Alright, so as you can see, I've done a lot of cleanup with the files I have here. So you can see that in the components folder, I have just a few files here. So the header, the alt buttons, hero section, and then user component. So here, I mean, it's just a basic UI that I have here. There's no implementation or whatsoever going on. And as I said, the project actually uses Tailwind by default, so everything is already set up for us. We just have to add some few tailwind classes to get our UI up and running, but the UI is not their focus, so I've already added the UI for us so that we can actually focus on the actual implementations instead of spending a lot of time writing a UI. So you can basically see that what we see here is now different from what we had earlier. So right now there's just a basic UI, so everything is just displaying here. So as you can see, these are the placeholders. So nothing actually works at all. So this one is saying hey username, so we are just going to be replacing these placeholders with the actual emails we get from our session. So let's go back to the code, and if I show you, I have also added the pages. So let's go through the pages. So first of all, I have the home page, the main page, which is basically containing the header and then the hero component. So the hero component is basically this one, right, as you can see. And when we go to layout, the layout doesn't contain much, it's just the default thing. I just changed the title here and cleaned some files here and some classes here as well, just to suit how I want the UI to look like. The source code is also going to be available, so you can just copy the UI session. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to basically push just the UI onto a branch. So as you can see, I have a dev branch, which is basically going to contain just the UI with no implementation. So when you get a link to the source code, you can go to the dev branch and you can get the UI pieces, the UI components, and then you can follow along with the implementation we are going to add. Here we have the different pages, right? So for example, we have the sign up page, which is basically a form with email, password, confirm password, and there's a button to say sign up. Right, so these are all in forms, and because we are going to be using server actions, you would see that later we would add the form action here to be able to like call Next.js server actions, right? Okay, so yeah, it's the same with all the other forms that we have. So login, it's the same thing, just that here we have just two inputs, that is the email and the password. And we have other pages. So we have the forgotten password page, it's a simple page. We have the reset password page as well, and there is also another page which is basically saying confirm. So whenever you need to confirm something, it's just going to take you to this page and it's going to give you that information. All right, so you'd see what I am talking about shortly. But yeah, I have all my pages in place. You can basically add these pages. So the way Next.js pages work, when you have the folder and then you have a page inside, you can just do slash. So for example, let me go back to the browser and do so I can do slash confirm like this, and it's gonna take me to the confirm page. Because we don't have any message, so what I am using is like the message kind of search parameters to be able to like show the message here. I'm gonna go through all that shortly, so don't worry about that. All right, so let's actually start from sign up, because that's the first thing you're going to be doing if you are a new user coming onto our application, right? You would first of all sign up. So we are going to add a function. So the function we are going to add is going to be a server action. All right, so here I am going to add a function. So I'm going to say constant, and I'm going to call it sign up. It is going to be a server action, right? So if I want to make it a server action, I just have to do use server here. All right, and once I do use server here, it means that this function here is now a server action. Right. To use that server action here on the form, we are going to add the action prop on the form, Alright, and we call that function. It's called sign up. Once we submit the form, it is going to call this function. Alright, and here it is going to send the form data alongside. Alright, so here we're going to get form data. Alright, and because I'm using TypeScript, I just have to provide a type, which is form data. So we have the email, we have the password, we also have the confirm password field. So these are the three values we are going to get from form data. So first of all, we are going to say constant email. Alright, and I'm going to do form data. So form data, and then we do dot get. So we want to get an email like this. Alright, and I'm going to do a string here because I just want to make this recognize that it is a string. And I'm going to do the same thing for password and confirm password as well. So because I'm using this extension, it's going to like be smart and make some suggestions for me to be able to get through this faster. So I need confirm password as well. Alright, so here I have the three values, that is email, password, and then confirm password. Now the first thing I want to check is I want to check if password is the same as confirm password, right? Because we basically don't want to proceed if the two passwords are not the same. Right, so I'm gonna do some check and say if password is not equal to confirm password, what do we want to do? We basically want to say redirect. So we're going to call redirect. Actually, see, not from this package, but from next navigation. We are going to basically redirect to the same page. Alright, so it's supposed to be a string. So I'm going to hit tab and I'm going to explain to you. So here we're going to say redirect to sign up page, but then we want to add this message search params, right? And that is where we pass the message. Alright, so that way we don't need to make our component a client component by setting up some state and adding the message and things like that. We can just work with server components and then pass pass some of these messages as search params, right? So here I'm going to say passwords do not match. I want to remove the pluses here. So I'm going to say passwords do not match as the message, and you notice that I have these search params here, right? So when you are using a server component, you can get these props by default on server components, right? Search params, and when I come down here, you notice that I am doing search params dot message. So basically that's the message I am passing here, right? So cool. So search params dot message is going to be displayed under the form if there is an error or probably the passwords do not match. So we basically save this. So let's actually switch over to the browser. Let's go to sign up. It's going to take us to the sign up page. There is error here. Alright, so as you can see, it's very clear here why I'm getting this error. It's saying that server actions must be async functions, right? So I just added a function, so I'm supposed to make this an async function by adding async here because it is a server action. So if I save it, the error is supposed to go away. Alright, obviously we can go ahead and do some more validations here by checking that whether like there is even an email entered or things like that at all. But yeah, we can we are going to just keep it as this for now. Okay, so now we are ready to sign this user up. Alright, so let's first of all create our Supabase client. So here I'm going to say that constant Supabase. Alright, and we are going to use create client. Alright, I'm going to, you have to make sure that the create client is actually imported from the server file, because this is a server component, so make sure it is imported from the server file here. Alright, so this one. And how do we sign up users? So we are going to use a function called sign up. So here we are going to say constant, and we're going to do await. Alright, so we do Supabase dot auth. So I forgot to bring the equal to. So I do auth dot, and then we get sign up here. And sign up is actually expecting some credentials, right? The credentials of the user, which is basically the email and password you are signing up with. So here we pass it as an object. So email is going to be this email, so we don't have to do :email again. And we also need to pass password. We also have to pass one more option. Alright, so on the options property, we want to say email redirect to. Now when you sign users up and they receive the email, after they confirm their email, where do you want to redirect users back to? So you want to be able to log them in. Right, so normally we're going to hit this code exchange route. Right, so here as you can see, there is this auth callback route, which is doing the code exchange and setting our session, logging users in. So that's the route we want to basically hit, right? But we also want to make sure it works for when we are running locally and when we are hosting it on a server. Right, so we are going to be using origin. Right, so here what I'm going to do is I'm going to put this here. Right, and this is what we have to basically get, and the way we get that is we say constant origin. Now it is going to come from headers, so we do headers, right, which is from next headers. It is basically a function, right, dot get. And what do we want to get? We want to get origin. What you have to take note though is that here in your Supabase dashboard, where you have your authentication configurations, here where we have the email template, actually it's not here, it's the URL configuration, but yeah, once we're here, let me just show you. Alright, so here this is where you have the subject heading. Right, so you can change the heading to whatever you want. So by default it says confirm sign up, and this is the template, so you can basically change this, replace it with any template you want at all. Right, so you can build a very nice template and replace it here. You have to just make sure that the link always contains this confirmation URL placeholder. But it should be good by replacing this with your custom template. Alright, and here where we have the URL configuration is where you have to make sure you are replacing it when you host your application. Alright, so cool. So here we are going to be redirecting to this place. First of all, we should get the error variable. If there is an error, we should be able to tell the user there is an error, right? So what we are going to do is we're going to say if error, redirect the user to the sign up page, but then this time give them this message. Right, so the message is going to basically be could not authenticate user. So the message is going to say could not authenticate user. Otherwise, what we are going to do is we are going to redirect the user to the confirmation screen. Alright, so here it is going to be /confirm, and we are going to pass the message right, like this. Right, and the message is basically going to be this. Right. And here we want to replace it with the user's email, so let's just do template string. Right, so here the email coming from here, so we're going to point the user to their email and say they should confirm their sign up from there. Okay, so that is basically it with the sign up. Right, this is all we need for the sign up. So first of all, we get the values from the form, we check the password confirmation, that's the only validation we are checking, and we also create our Supabase clients, and we get the sign up function from Auth property. And here we pass the email and password because those are the required credentials you need to pass to the sign up function. But here we want to redirect the user. We want to be able to log the user in automatically when they confirm their email, so we redirect them to this place. Right, and here if we get an error, probably whatever is the reason we get an error, we're just going to display general message to the user by saying could not authenticate user. If not, we are just going to take the user to the confirm page by telling them to check their email to confirm their sign up. So I'm going to save this and I'm going to go back to the sign up screen. So let's go back here, and here let's go to temp email. Let me actually get a new email so that we use that. Alright, so it's going to generate a new email for us. Okay, so we get this email. Let's copy. Now let's paste that here and let's enter a password. Right, so I'm going to use test123 again. So test123, that's our password. And let's actually click on sign up. So you should be able to sign us up, and there you go. So it was successful. It was able to sign us up, and it takes us to the confirm page. Right, so here it says that we should check our email and continue the sign-in process. So first of all, we go back to Supabase. Let's go to users and see. So here we are. Alright, so waiting for verification. So if you go back to our email, as we can see, we have the confirmed sign up. So we click on it and then we can open that link. So here it takes us to the home page and we are basically signed in. Nice. So as you can see, we still see these buttons here even though we are signed in. That's because we are not checking if the user is signed in or anything like that. So let's do that next and actually verify if we are actually signed in. Alright, so to do that, we are going to go to this Auth buttons component. This is our authentication buttons, and as you can see, this is a server component as well. So here what we are going to do is we are going to check if the user is logged in. Alright, so we need to create our Supabase client here as well. So we get a suggestion. Let me remove the comments and make sure I am importing this from server because this is a server component. If this was a client component, I would import it from clients. So it means that we can use this both in client component and server components. But yeah, so we have our Supabase, and what we are going to do is we are going to say, right, so as you can see, I have a sync here. So I am going to basically say await Supabase .auth .get session. Alright, so we're going to get the session and basically see if there is actually a session. Alright, so here we are first of all going to get data, and inside here we are going to get session. Right. So here, if the user is not logged in, the session is going to be null. As you can see from the type, it is either we get a session or we get null. So if there is no user logged in, if there is no session available, you're going to get null. Alright, so if there is a session, we are basically going to get an object or the session. So what we can do is we can do if session. So for example, this. If there is a session, then we want to say return, let's just say return undefined for now, because we don't want to return anything. And once we do this, that should be all. Like if there is no session, then it's going to return this instead. If there is a session, we are going to return this. So once I save it, and I'm going to switch back to the browser before I save it. So once I save it and this refreshes, we should see that the buttons disappear because there is a session. So let's wait for this to refresh actually. And there you go. So as you can see, the buttons are gone because there is actually a session. Now, if there is a session, let's go back to the code. If there is a session, let me copy this, and I'm going to go back to header. Actually, I'm going to go to this user component, and here, instead of user email, we just want to replace it with the email, the actual email of the user, right, from the session. Alright, and I can put this here again, because this is not actually making a server call, it is getting the local session. So I mean, yeah, there's no harm in using it multiple times. So here, let me import from server, not client, and here I'm going to do session dot so session dot user dot email. Actually, with this one, we don't need any if. We just want to check if there is a session. That's why we're going to show this, right? So here I can just do session and so if there is a session, it's basically going to return this. If there is no session, it's gonna just be null or undefined. So we're only going to show this if there is actually a session. So here, let's save it, and then let's go back here, and there you go. As you can see, we have hey this user because there is a session. Nice. Now that there is a session, the user is logged in, the user is actually logged in, we can see the login button again, right? So if, I mean, before we can implement the login, we should be able to log out. So let's actually continue to implement the logout so that we can log the user out, and then we would see how to log them back in. Alright, let's go back to VS Code. Here, this is a button to log the user out. So it means that in this file we are going to implement the logout. Alright, so I'm going to create another server function. Alright, so I'm going to say constant, let me call it sign out, and let me also make it async because it's going to be a server action. So I'll just put use server here, and down here I'm going to say constant, and I'm going to do await Supabase dot, we do Auth, and then we do dot. So we have sign out, this function, and we just have to call it. This function does not require any credentials. It's just going to sign the user out. What we are going to do is we are going to do redirect from next navigation. Alright, and we are going to redirect to log in. Alright, and I don't even need to get the values from here because this doesn't do much. So I can just remove this and just say await Supabase auth.sign out, and I am going to copy this sign out, and as you can see, this is also in a form. So I'm going to say action, and I'll add the sign out function here. And once I do this, our sign out is also supposed to work, I believe. So let's go back to the browser and try to sign the user out. So click Logout, and let's wait and see what happens. But yeah, as you can see, we are logged out and we are redirected to the login page. Nice. Alright, so how do we log back in? We can basically use our email to log back in, our email and password. So let's actually implement the login as well. Okay, so let's go back here and then let's open login. So this is going to be similar to how we did the sign up. Alright, so here I'm going to create the function. Alright, so I'm going to use the suggestion, right? And I'm also going to get a form data. So let me first of all make sure I do use server, because it is a server action. And let me also not forget to add the server action here, which is basically going to say login. Yep. First of all, we are going to get the email and then the password as well, right? So just like we did, so let's go to sign up here and actually copy this. So we copy these two, copy, and then let's go back to login. We get an email and password, and we also want to get a Supabase client. It's just the same thing, right? This one. So let's bring that here as well, and let's make sure we import it from the right file. Okay, so we can now do constant, and we do await Supabase dot auth and then dot. So this time we are going to use sign in with password, right? So this one is what we are going to be using. So this is a function to log users in, and we need to pass an object to this as well, and it is expecting the email and then the password. Those are the required options we need to pass, and that's all the options we are going to basically pass. Alright, so first of all, we just want to check for any errors, and we want to check if there is an error. So if there is an error, we want to show them a message. Alright, so we'll do redirect, login, and then message. The message is basically saying could not authenticate user. So let's import this from Next navigation. If not, it means they would be able the user would be able to log in, right? So what we're going to do is we're just going to redirect the user back to their home page, right? So you can basically redirect them to any page you want at all, but yeah, it makes sense to redirect them back to home page with our application. With this, I think our login should be working as well, right? So as you can see, it is very straightforward, right, with Supabase authentication. So let's go back to our login page. Let's try to log in with the user we created. Let's create this. Let's close this one. So this is the email, and as you can see, it is also here. If it refreshes, you'd see that yeah, we were verified as well. So let me paste that email here, and if you remember, our password is test123. So first of all, let me just enter a wrong password to see. We should not be authenticated because our password is not correct. We get could not authenticate user. Right, that's because our password is wrong. So let me enter the correct password, and I am going to hit sign in. Alright, and as you can see, we are redirected back to the home page, and as you can see here, this is our name as well, and we can log out. Alright, very cool. So our login implementation is also working. So as you can see, we just used this sign in with password. We passed the email and password, and yeah, we redirect to the same page with a message, and if it is successful, if there is an error, but if it is successful, we redirect back to the home page. And you notice that on the home page, we actually are getting the session from the user component and checking if there is a session and displaying the user's email. Right, that's what we see here together with the logout button. Right. Okay, so our sign up and login flow are working. Right, they're working nice. So the next thing is we're going to try to see if the user can reset their password. Right, probably I'm going to pretend as if I've forgotten my password. I click on logout. It should log me out. Bear with me, this is a bit slow now, but I'm waiting for this to log me out. So I'm going to click on forgotten password, which is supposed to take me to the forgotten password page. So click on this. So I am on the forgotten password page. So here I'm supposed to enter my email so that it will send me a verification link. All right. So what we are going to do is to implement that as well. So let's go back. Let me close some of these pages, and here we have forgot password. Roll up here. Alright, and here we have only one form, which is the email. So I can copy this function. I can just copy this function here. So I am going to say confirm reset, and that is the action I am going to pass. And here I'm going to import create clients from Supabase server, from utils, and here I am going to make sure we are on the same page with a message. So forgot password, and let's import these as well from next navigation. And when it is successful, we're basically going to redirect them to the confirm page, not this one. So instead of this, I'm going to replace with this. And I'm going to say password reset link has been sent to your email address. Right, and here we need to use the correct function, right? And the correct function is called reset password for email. So once you call this function and you pass the email, so this is expecting just the email, and this time it is not an object. Alright, it is not an object, but then we pass an object as a second parameter like this, and here we do redirect to. Alright, and when the user clicks on the link in their email, where do we want to redirect them to? Alright, so they are going to be redirected to the reset password page of our application. Alright, and with that, the endpoint is basically /reset password, but we also need to get an origin, that is the base URL of our application, depending on where we have hosted the application. So I'm going to remove this one because I'm not using it, and I'm also going to get the origin as we did in the sign up components. So I'm going to paste it here. Alright, and I'm going to import this from next headers. So once I do this, I should replace this with template string, right? And here I'm going to do origin. I have to make sure I do the $sign in front. So it's going to say origin / reset password. Alright, so if it is localhost, then it's going to say localhost / reset password, which is going to take us to this component, that is this page, to reset our password. So let's save it, and then let's go back to the browser. Let's check and see if it is working. So here we need to enter our email. Alright, so let me make sure I'm getting the correct email. This one. Going to paste it here, and I'm going to hit confirm. Alright, so obviously when you are implementing this in your application, like in your project, you are going to add more verifications to check if this email actually exists as part of your users. So for example, you have your users information stored in your database, and you first of all have to confirm if this email is even there in the first place before you send the password reset link, right? Because if it is not part of your users, I don't think the user can be authenticated or can still log in. So you check if the email passed here is actually a valid user. If it is, then you go ahead and then you call this function, and then it's going to send the email. Alright, so this is basically saying could not authenticate user. So let's see why we are getting that. There was obviously an error. So why are we getting that error? Let me refresh this again, and let me paste the email again and hit confirm. There isn't an error actually. So as you can see, it works, and it says password reset link has been sent to your email address, right? Okay, which is very cool. So let's go back to our email. Let's go back to email list and see if we actually received the email to reset our password. We have the second email. Alright, so I'm gonna click on that, and here I see the reset password link, which I am going to basically click on. Alright, so I'm going to click on it to open it in a new tab, and it redirects me to the reset password page with this code. Alright, we are able to receive the link, and we are able to get to the reset password page. Alright, so let's actually go back and see how we can also implement the resetting of the password. Close this, and let's close this, let's open this one. Alright, so here let me just paste the code quickly. It's just similar to everything we've been doing. So let me just import this from here. Alright, and I could also get the confirm password field, but yeah, it's not I'm just not doing that at the moment. And then let me import this as well. Alright, so let me remove this console log, and let me make sure I am passing the action as reset password. And here search params. So as you can see, so the reason why we are checking for the search params.code to do this exchange code for session is because, as you saw, we have this code search params here. So we need to make sure that we do the code exchange so that the user can be authenticated and will be able to reset their password, right? And it is a reason why you need to follow the link from your email, because this code is generated by Supabase, and once you pass the code to the exchange code for session, then it's going to authenticate the user, and it's going to be able to update the user's password, right? Alright, so yeah, this is what I'm talking about. So this part here, right, so I just have to add it to the type here just to clear the error here, because we are getting it from the search params. Alright, so here we do exchange code for session and we pass that code, and this is going to authenticate the user, right? So if there is an error, so for example, if the link is expired, so you can use the link twice. If you click on it once, you just have to use it. If you don't use it and you go and click on it again, it's going to give you an error, which is the link expired error. So we are showing this static error message to the user saying that the link is expired, so you need to request for a new link, right? But if not, then it's going to go ahead and update the user. So this part is very important because it is going to authenticate the user, and that is what is going to make the update user work, right? So this update user function is only going to work if the user is authenticated. So without this step, this is not going to work. You're going to get an error. Yeah, once we are able to update the user, then we are going to basically say password reset has been successful, and so you need to basically log in. Yeah, if not, we just show them an error message saying unable to reset password, try again for whatever reason. Alright, so yeah, so this is basically how we reset a user's password. So you're passing the action here as well. So let me save it, and hopefully our link is not expired because it's been a long time. So let's go to the browser and try and check if we can actually reset the password. So let's enter a new password. So I'm going to say test111, test111 actually, so test111. So if I click on reset, so invalid flow state has expired. Actually, we are getting the error here. It means it is not able to catch that error we have here. Okay, that's basically fine. We will handle that later, but let's actually go through the flow again. So let's go to so I'm going to request for a new link again, right? So actually I'm gonna copy the email again. Alright, so password reset link has been sent to my email. So I'm gonna go here. There should be a couple of them, but I'm obviously going to use the last one. Okay, so there's a couple of them. So this one is the one I just received. Okay, so I'm gonna click on this reset link, and it should take me to my reset password page, and here I am. Alright, so I'm going to reset the password, right? So I'm going to change it, enter a new password. So I'm going to say test222, say test222. Alright, and I'm going to hit reset. And there you go. So as you can see, your password reset has been successful. Alright, so I can sign in. Now you would also notice that we are logged in, right? But we still see the login page. That's because we are redirecting to the login page after we do the reset, but it logs us in automatically. So we need to add a check to see if like we are logged in and we are visiting the login page. We shouldn't actually see the login page. It should redirect us to a different page, right? And it is also true for when probably someone is trying to access the login page manually by doing something like this. If there is a session or if we are logged in, it should redirect us back to where we came from, right? Okay, so with that, let's go back to the browser here. So we can just add some check up here. All right, and I'm going to paste the code here. And I'm messing this. Alright, so what I've added here is, yeah, I am saying we are getting the session. If there is a session, we should redirect to the home page. If there is no session, then we go ahead and show whatever is after that. Right, so we check if the user is logged in, there is actually a session, then there's no need to show the page again. It should redirect to the home page because we are already logged in. So I'm going to copy this check for all our authentication pages, because when we are logged in, there's no need to also see the sign up page or see the reset password page or the forgotten password page, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and copy the same check for all of these pages as well, so that we are not able to manually see any of the pages if we are already logged in. Alright, so if you go back here, we should already be on the home page, right? And if we try to do /login, right, immediately it redirects us back to the home page, right? So the same with maybe reset password, because we're already logged in. Right, cool. So let's actually go through all the flow together and see if everything works. So I'm going to sign up, and I am going to go here and refresh this. Alright, let's change the email address. Alright, so we have a new email address. Let me copy it, go back here. So I am going to go to sign up instead, because I'm signing a new user up. Alright, so here I'm gonna use this user, and I'm going to say test 1 2 3. So test 1 2 3. I'm going to click on sign up. Alright, so I am signed up, and I will go to my email and confirm. Alright, so I'm gonna click on this. Alright, so I am logged in. Alright, if I check Supabase as well, there should be a third user here, and yeah, this one. Okay, so let me log out again, close this one, and let me log in with that user details. So test 1 2 3. We should be able to log in, and yeah, that works as well. Alright, let me log out again, and this time I'm going to reset the password, paste the email again, confirm. Okay, so let me check my email if I've received the reset link. Waiting for the emails to load. Alright, so here is my reset password email. So I am going to click on it, and I should see the link to reset my password. Alright, so once I click on this, then I should be able to get a form to reset my password. Alright, so let me just say 0000 4 zeros. So 0000 I'm going to hit reset. Alright, so as you can see, I'm logged in, right? So let's try to log out and then log in with the new password and see if that works as well. So let me copy the email again. Alright. So here I'm going to do 0000. Let me add one more. Okay, first of all, let me just enter test123. That's the previous password and see if that works. Yes, that doesn't work. So let me just use 0000 and then sign in again. And yeah, as you can see, I am logged in. Right, cool. So all our flows are working. So everything is working, and yeah, that's basically how we are going to end this tutorials. And yeah, thank you for watching. Don't forget to like the video if you find it useful. You can subscribe to the channel if you've not already, and hit the notification icon for more videos. Yeah, thank you, and I'm going to see you in the next video.